And unfortunately, the live for me is not working very well. I will try and click it in again, but I got video, and we are now going to talk about the sports aspect of Brown's Early Education and Youth Development Center. So I want to let Mariah give you pretty much the gist of how sports is going to be incorporated, and then we will discuss a little bit further, a little bit more in depth.
Well, we had put our heads together, like I said before, and thought of how we would do something different when it comes to our program compared to other programs. And we also was thinking about adding men, because a lot of men don't work in early childhood education. And that's something that we definitely need, especially African American men. And so we decided to add sports into the component, bringing in young men, college students, as well as high school students. And because I know women do sports too, so we definitely bringing in women athletes as well. So the our sports component is very beneficial for our young children, and it coincides with our center developmental domain, physical development, and wellness. And going over our mission as far as the sports component program is sports improves physical fitness, teaches important life skills, and increases the chances that young children who play sports will become active adults. Playing sports help children learn to control their emotions and channel negative feelings in a positive way. They learn to play with others, developing leadership skills, become team players. They develop multiple ways to learn, share, take turns, and follow directions. These skills help children in family communities, school activities, and self-confidence. The program will also consist of us taking our young athletes to after-school programs. Programs where they can actually meet actual athletes, taking them to fields, taking them on trips to baseball games, football games, basketball games, and just if possible, we can have professional athletes come out to speak to our young athletes as well as our children. So that's how we are incorporating our sports program.
Right. That's I like all of that. Especially the part where you want to have the trips to sporting events and sporting facilities, and possibly have professional athletes come in and talk to the kids. I think that is always a great piece, because so many of our kids look up to a lot of professional athletes, sometimes more than they do their own parents or family members. And I think that can give them the encouragement and the assurance that they can do some other things. With that, how do you plan to incorporate the young athletes and bringing them into the program to assist?
We plan on when they come in, we're offering them jobs. We're offering them to create their own curriculum program to any sports that they play.
So y'all putting them to work.
Yes.
It ain't no free ride. Y'all hear that? Y'all young people that are athletes, if you talk to them, come prepared, because it's not going to be a cakewalk. You're going to be prepared as well. So ironically, or in a sense, their age group is 6 to 12, 6 weeks to 12.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you just heard that part, you understand that it reaches more than just 6 weeks to 12 years old.
Yes, most definitely. It will be a paid intern, and like I said, it's helping them. We helping them build leadership, becoming mentors, and we know that they're going to be busy with their own. So during school time, they're going to be working 2 days out of the week, unless they're actually working at the school program as a counselor at the school program. But if they're just coming to teach the basic sports program, they're gonna they will be creating their own program. They will be creating their own curriculum where they're going to come in with different techniques they're going to be doing with the children. And we did come up to saying they have to do well in school. They have to be working on their grades. We're willing to work with them as far as them doing better, because that's the whole purpose of our program, is for them to develop themselves as well as help us develop the younger generation.
So you hear that, young people? You have an opportunity. if sports is something that you like to do, sports is something that you love, you can talk to the owners and facilitators of Brown's Development Center, and you can learn how you can broaden your horizons and get some more help in succeeding. Because a lot of times the youth don't get or don't understand that there is another side to sports. And one of the things I like that you just mentioned, Mariah, was that they're going to have to create their own curriculum. So it's not like you're just going to come in and teach the kid how to play basketball or teach the kids how to play football. It has to be something structured, which I think is great, because myself and my partner, shout out to Baldy, who's not here with me today, but I'm sure he's tuned in. We always try to give our young listeners and our adult listeners, we always try to give them the other side of the sports world. Like I said, we do sports here. We talk about the burning topics and the local teams and things of that nature. But we always try to bring out points on the other side. Because as we know, you can't play forever. And there are a lot of avenues that kids are not privy to, especially our young African American youth are not privy to, that are on the other side of the sports world. It's a lot. There's agents, business, GMs, and things of that nature that they don't really get to see. And I'm glad that you mentioned that they will have to create a curriculum. So what was one of the biggest points in you incorporating sports into the program and not just making it just the early education, you know, the normal, or so to speak, normal educational development that people would think, where you added sports into it? What was one of the bigger things that brought that about?
Okay. All right. One major key thing is kind of seeing how, because once again, my son, he's 11. Seeing how sports helped him. High energy kid. Once again, it's a lot of times it's kind of hard for him to focus a lot of times because he has so much energy and everything. We started him playing football. The Island Eagles. Shout out to the Island Eagles.
I'm familiar with Island Eagles.
Yes. So he's been playing there since he was 5, and immediately he latched on to the coaches. Once again, he has that male bond, and seeing these these African American males that are teaching him fundamentals with football as well as life. And like just seeing how it affected him in school, because now he's a lot more reserved. Now he's able to interact with more people. He tends to be standoffish just because he has to know you first before he's interacts with you and everything. But I noticed that started to break down those walls because he started to learn what being a part of a team means. Interacting with other kids, not downing your teammates, but lifting them up, and as well as them lifting him up, and how he feels, dealing with loss, as well as being a good winner, because sometimes a lot of kids, they can mush stuff in your face and everything like that, but being humble, being a winner and everything. I noticed how each and every one of those like aspects, not just just him physically playing football affecting him, and we started putting our heads together. We were like, a lot of the fundamentals of sports are needed with these children, and we kind of limit children to just the academic portion, and we should be exposing our children to a lot more than that. So that's why we kind of put our heads together, and we were like, how can we integrate this into our program and make it beneficial for these youth these days, because we definitely need it with lack of resources and things like that. So
yeah, absolutely. So, once again, shout out to the Omni Eagles. I'm very familiar with the Omni Eagles organization.
Let's go.
So, I totally agree, and I think that's a great point. And I also think that's something that parents look for, but I'm also going to say, oftentimes don't know how to ask for that. It also, I think the sports aspect will also make, like Mariah mentioned earlier, make learning fun. And like you said, Kev, the learning how to win, the learning how to lose, for that matter. And just so you understand, learning how to lose is very, very difficult, especially in youth. Because like we know, and we mentioned earlier, youth are going to be very direct and they're going to be very blatant. So a lot of times you'll get those kids, like you said, Kev, that want to rub stuff in your face, things of that nature. But I think the sports aspect, it builds the team. And it also, I think, will instill into the youth that there are going to be times when you're going to win, there are going to be times when you're going to lose. But what are you going to do? How are you going to prepare yourself to get back? How are you going to prepare yourself to continue? So also with that being a part of it, let's see, what else do you think the sports aspect will do as far as with the older youth that will be helping out? And I understand you said they're going to have to create their own curriculum. You're going to give them the 2 days out of the week during school, and then also, if I read correctly, during the summer, they'll be there for more than 2 days.
Monday through Friday.
They'll be there Monday through Friday.
Yes.
So, on these trips, what are your plans for these trips? Because initially, when you say trips to facilities or stadiums and possibly meeting professional athletes, immediately we all know as parents and we all know as having teenagers, first thought is going to be, oh, I'm going to get to meet so-and-so. I'm going to go to the game. How do you plan on reiterating the educational points while you're on these trips?
Oh, you did the educational points in?
What I mean is, how do you plan on keeping the kids focused on knowing that there's something for you to learn here other than you just meeting athlete A, or you just being at a game? Yeah.
Well, that actually comes with our training, us training them properly. When they come in, they definitely gonna have a training on the purpose of the program. Like you said, it's not just about them meeting an athlete; it's them actually learning through meeting these athletes, learning to become leaders. Because you have to show the kids how to properly act, so you have to properly act accordingly. As well as, like I said, we still are working on that because we have to come up with.
Thanks for tuning in.
We're still working on that because we have to come up with, because we just can't say, we're going to take you to meet this person. We have to come up with our own way of being able to reach out to these people and getting, them allowing us to come to their stadiums or come to their games, or actually having somebody being able to win. That's why that's why I was begging you about coming on the radio to put it out there so that people know and understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then we will be able to have, which opens up opportunities for us to be able to get those chances and opportunities. And like I said, us training them properly and giving them like the skills to take in and preparing them like, okay, this is why we're doing it. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to act. And we have to act accordingly. It's not just about, it's not just about just meeting my favorite athlete, but also that athlete being able to show them sportsmanship, to show them, and also let them know how important their education is. It's not like you said, you can't play forever. It's not always about sports, but how sports and education come hand in hand. So that's why I said properly training them and preparing them for the program. And also, like I said, outreach and have people reach out to us and come in and give the same type of advice.
Right. Well,
It's kind of like, showing the youth the big picture, because just like you said earlier, it's more than just sports, and like we kind of hope that that we can teach them that these are how athletes act. This is how they got there. This is hard work. This is a lot of dedication. This is it's not all just we're playing football, we playing basketball, we get to go out and this is that and the third. No, it's a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work that goes along with it. So hopefully meeting these athletes and everything like that, it kind of shows them, like, it gives them the hope that you can do it, but also what it takes to do those different things, and
right.
that it takes education, it takes perseverance, it takes hard work. So we're trying to dive deep into these kids so that we can they can learn to dive deep into themselves.
Right.
So
yeah, and I totally agree with that, Kev. And it also, when you said the work that goes into it, I believe it also will give them the aspect of knowing that I don't just get up and go play a game and then go home.
yeah.
There's a lot of things mixed in between. Going back to creative expression, executive function, language and literacy, most importantly, language and literacy. These guys and these women, they have to talk to media. So you have to present yourself in a way that the media will respect you, and understand what you're saying. So I think that's, like I said, the big piece, that language and literacy. The creative expression. Their schedules are so hectic. And I think that will be one of the other things that you'll be able to instill in them and teach them that this is like, it's a job. Like, you look at it as it's a sport, they're having fun. Yeah, but there's a lot more to it than them just playing for those 9 innings or those 60 minutes or those 48 minutes or whatever the time frame is or whatever sport they choose. There's a lot that goes into that. And again, the team building, and I'm sure once you get a hold of some of these athletes and some of these other professionals in the sports, that they will ensure them and tell them that, it's a lot more than what you think. Just so you know, it's going to take a lot of letter writing, and I'm sure you already know that, but you have to stay consistent with it. I just am speaking from my behalf of doing the sports show and how I connected with some of the people I connected with. For a while, I was very connected to the Philadelphia Soul, which is a now defunct Arena Football League, where I constantly sent letters and had to explain myself time and time again in more than one way of what my point was, what I wanted to do with that. A good friend of mine, Joe Richmond, and I will bring you guys to, I'm sure he's watching, I'm sure he'll get wind of this. He is a very, very big advocate for the youth. So there's another person that you could possibly reach out to, and I'll talk to him about that. And I'm sure it wouldn't be any problems with him. But you have to just go out there. And I know you know this by starting your own business, but you got to jump out there. And there's going to be times when people are not going to respond. I'm still going through some of that now, and I've been doing this for going on 7 years now. And there are still people that I want to reach out to, that I'm still reaching out to, that just we haven't connected yet. But I'm going to speak it into existence, and I'm going to do it. So if there's any help that you need from me, any questions you have for me, feel free at any time to ask on how I got to this point or how I got certain things done. And I just, deep down inside, think that sports is so important to our youth, because like Kevin said, the team building, the working with others, is very, very important and very vital, especially, and I keep saying this, especially again to our African American youth who don't always have the outlets, who don't always know how to reach out, who don't know what to say or how to say it. So I'm sure that this program that you're starting is going to be a great one. It's going to be very, very beneficial to our youth. I thank you for having taken time out of your days to come out here this morning and sit and talk with me and talk to my guests and my usual followers about this particular program. Once again, it's the Browns Early Education and Youth Development Program with sports as a major part of the curriculum. Now, before we close out, they're going to give you all their information, their social media, contacts, and everything like that, where you can get in touch with them. And I'm definitely going to post it again when I get done and when I do my editing and post my videos on YouTube or whatever. But right now, I want to take a minute and I want to get back to one of the things I mentioned in my opening, in my notes, when I spoke about the coach who has now since been fired, dismissed, along with some of his coaching staff. And the story, if you don't know, just to give you the background, story is there was a coach, I think it was a football coach, who forced a young man on his team to do some things that were highly against his religious beliefs. So basically the story played out where the kid was forced to sit by himself and eat a pepperoni pizza. According to the story, this young person, his religious beliefs did not allow him to eat pork. It got to the point where the coaches told him, well, just pick the pepperoni off and then still eat the pizza. He was like forced to eat the pizza. Again, those coaches have since been dismissed from that program. For me, I feel like it was disrespectful to the child, disrespectful to that child's family, disrespectful to their religion, and overall disrespectful to the sport. So what is your guys' take on that whole situation?
That's horrible. I always looked at sports as a way of uniting so many different cultures and different things together. And you know, the thing is that a big portion of sports is respect, and I felt like that was just lost in that instance. It was like there was no sense of respect for, you know, that young man's religion, his beliefs, his family, him as a person, you know, because it might not even be religion. He might not like pepperoni. He might not like, that might make him sick, like, you know. And it's a all around respect issue, and that was a kind of a personal conversation we had yesterday. We talked about how you know, a lot of adults demand respect, but we also have to respect these children as well. You know, just because they're younger, just because, you know, they may, you know, they may be younger in age and everything like that. Like, respect is respect, and we do have to respect people's emotions, people's religion, people's personalities. We have to respect those things. So I am so glad that those people are have been dealt with accordingly. But that's something that, you know, universally, not even just with sports, just in, you know, integrating with each other, period. We should definitely respect everyone's, you know, everyone's personality, their religion, and culture. So,
You got anything to add? Ivan Robinson, Mighty Mouse, what's going on?
I don't know if I'm digging too deep, but doesn't this seem to me like it's going for the young, going a little too far with the athlete who got fired because he bent down on one knee because he didn't want to salute
that's once again,
salute the flag.
it can take you. It definitely can take you back to that instance, and she's referring to the Colin Kaepernick issue, where he took a knee in the flag. And in my opinion, we talked about this several times on the show. In my opinion, that whole fiasco was just what it was. It was a fiasco. Colin Kaepernick was very demonstrative in his fight. He was also very particular and critical in his fight, where if people don't remember, you can always go back and check the story, and he put it out there himself. He spoke to several veterans before he decided to take that stand and take a knee during the national anthem. So he was very, very precise in how he planned out that protest. And all of a sudden, the media and a lot of other people made it about the flag, which it was never about the flag. We even went so far on this show as to bring it to the attention of a lot of people that the national anthem or the Star Spangled Banner, whatever name you choose, the part that is sung on sporting events is only one verse of that song. It's like the first verse of that song. That song completely in its entirety is 4 verses, I believe I remember correctly. And you can Google it if you want, people, if you don't remember, but Google it and pay very, very close attention to the 3rd verse, which is very, very disrespectful to African American people. And we even went so far on our show at one segment where we tried to get to the bottom of it, tried to get to the understanding of how it came about to have the national anthem sung before sporting events. And it was like 2 weeks that we went through that. You know, we got some answers, we figured some things out, but we also posed the question that we still have not gotten a clear and concise answer to, as to why the first verse is the only verse that's sung. So it's very deep. It's very deep. And just because you brought that up, there was another incident a while back where there was a high school coach who demonstratively and very angrily chastised a kid on his team because the kid told him that he wanted to transfer from the school. Now, this particular youth wanted to transfer because he saw some things that he didn't feel were right. It got into the point where it was racial, and he stood on his own 2 feet and made a statement for himself and for others that he wanted to leave the school. And then this coach went on a rant, and he basically downgraded this kid and told this kid, well, I own you, and things of that nature. You know, I can ruin you, and you want to leave the school, I will ruin you, and things of that nature. Now that, I forget what state that was in, but that coaches had also since been dismissed, and it was even taken so far as to that particular school was eliminated from the league that they played. I think it was Florida. I think it was one of the higher echelon leagues in Florida, and they're now been dismissed from that league. So I see you over there, Kevin.
Yeah.
So any thoughts on that particular issue?
The biggest thing that affects me as far as that is concerned is not only, you know, that child standing on his own 2 feet and being belittled like that, but all the hard work from his other teammates and stuff like that being thrown down the drain. And it's just like, wow, like now they're trying to pick up the pieces, you know. This was high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have high school prospects that are looking at college, and this is ruining, you know, their prospects for people looking at them to make the college jump and everything like that. And it just and this is because of the acts of this coach that just ruined everybody, which I feel like that portion wasn't fair. But just like you said, where if we're talking about the bigger picture, if we're talking about like the whole organization as a whole, that's the issue, then it's like, what can you do as far as that's concerned? So, suspending the team from, contention and stuff like that, that's kind of the route to go. But I just really feel bad for those kids that were involved that didn't have anything to do with anything, as well as that young man that got challenged and demeaned and everything like that. Like, hopefully they were able to make a jump to another school or be able to contend another way or something like that. So that's how I feel about that.
And that particular kid, and that you mentioned some of those things you just mentioned, Kev, that particular young man had scholarship offers. It even got to the point where the coach had mentioned to the kid that I own you. I can change it. He was the facilitator, or the whatever you want to call it, of the grades. So he went and changed the grades. And the smart thing about this young man was he was very, very, again, meticulous in his fight for standing up for himself, where he knew what his grades were, what they should have been. And when he finally got there, he noticed immediately that they were changed. So he automatically knew how they got changed and who changed them. So again, this piece that you're doing with having this education as this part of your education, you can incorporate that, and now these youth will know how to stand up for themselves and how to combat these types of issues, because in a lot of places they're still going to come up. We know that. We talk about it a lot on this show, how racism is involved in sports still to this day. Like we just saw the instance with the Danny Ainge thing, like I mentioned earlier. He put out there that he doesn't know how to relate to these youth or these younger athletes, but it all came about from Kyrie Irving and some of the things that Kyrie Irving said, who I give a little bit of credit to. There are times when I feel Kyrie is a little strange. Hell of a talent. But I do feel like some of the things, not him per se, some of the things that he says, make me believe make me believe that he's a little strange. But this particular instance was something that I kind of stood behind him in, because he was in it firsthand. He played for the Boston Celtics, so he knew what type of environment it was. There was also an issue before with Mark Cuban and racial stuff going on in Dallas. But I applaud Mark Cuban because the way that he handled it was he hired an African-American woman to run his facility, to run his team, and bring that to an upper standing. And you haven't heard anything since. So, again, sports can go a long way. And again, there's a lot more to it than just actually playing the sport. So you've got some people here. You got Mariah there. You got Kevin there. Again, owner, CEO, facilitators of Brown's Early Education and Youth Development Center. Before we close out, I'm going to let them give you all of their contact information, their social media, and things of that nature, so you can get a hold of them. If you do not catch it while they say it, I have it. I will post it when I do my posting. Or you can just DM me, and I'm sure if it's okay with them, I can pass the information along. But is there anything that you guys want to ask of me while we're here? Don't hesitate. You get one shot.
We pretty much we asking not just you, but everybody out there to come out. And like I said, the program is still in progress. We're still getting the program. So any donations or any help we can get, support, people come out and help talk to the kids. People help come out and help us facilitate our programs. We are asking for all any help that we can get at all in general, especially with, like I said, it's important for us to add black men to our programs. To be able to go hand in hand with our kids, our young ladies, as well as our young men. So
absolutely,
any type of support we can have, we are asking for.
Yes, and spread the word. I'm going to do my part in spreading the word. Spread the word about the facility. Spread the word about what you heard here this morning. Because, again, it's very different than your typical early education, or like we like to say, and I said I love that point that you didn't call it a daycare. It's an early education and youth development.
Yes.
Where a lot of times you get that cliche daycare, and they're not really challenging the kids. They're just going with what the general public or the general consensus would say. This is what 5-6-year-olds should be doing in the daycare before they go to school, or this is what 12-year-olds should be doing now. It's a lot different. It's a more broad expression of delving into the development of the youth. So with that being said, we're going to let them give you all their information while we're here. We're going to start with Mariah.
So our number is 267-975-3653. That's, you can contact us by phone. By email is Brown's Early Education@gmail.com, as well as we are on Instagram as Brown's Early Education Youth Development. We're on Facebook as Brown Education Youth Development, and we're also under Facebook as Mariah Powell and Kevin Brown. So you can reach out to us on Facebook, by email, by phone, any way until we get to where we actually get a building that we're able to create our fully program. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Kev, you got anything? Any last words?
Thanks again for the support. This show was awesome.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for the
No
opportunity.
problem.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. Like I said, that's another one of the things that we here at Heat 100 Radio and the Sports Rap Show pride ourselves on. If we see, or when we see positive African American people that are doing things that are willing to promote the youth and are in favor of the youth, is something that we take pride in. It's something that we want to get our hand in. So again, that's Brown's Early Education Center on Facebook. On Instagram, it is
Brown's Early Education.
Brown's Early Education. So just like you follow me, get over there, follow them. Again, like I said, I'm going to post a picture or two after this before I do the editing of videos, and I will get all those tags, those handles in it. And like I always say, be great on purpose. Enjoy your Monday to kick off your week. It is going to be another scorcher today. So try to stay cool as best you can, and just be mindful of everything that you do today. And again, you know where to find me, SportsRap at SportsRap_D on Instagram and Twitter. SportsRap@yahoo.com is the email. The audio on iHeart, Google, Spotify, Sports Rap Podcast, the webpage, SportsRapRadio.com, and YouTube, SportsRapTv, where these videos will go up later this week. Finally, before we close out, I'm going to give you some schedules for today. We got NBA playoffs, Bucks and Nets at 7:30 on TNT, Nuggets Suns 10 o'clock on TNT. No WNBA tonight. We got some NHL playoff. The Islanders are at the Bruins. The Jets and the Canadians play again. And 3 games in Major League Baseball. The Marlins are at the Red Sox. The Royals are at the Angels. And the Cubs are at the Padres. So, folks,